There's a saying you've probably heard, get woke, go broke. There are a lot of stories about brands getting woke and going broke. But admittedly, there are some stories where they got woke correct in the right way and made some money off it. Things worked out. We have this ad here. It's called The Woman Who Lived in a Shoe. In my opinion, this is how not to do woke advertising because it plays upon stereotypes and assumptions and victimhood mentality instead of dealing with issues of diversity and gender in the right way, which we will talk about. I am now going to play for you this ad. It is only about 55 seconds, but let's hear what they have to say.
There was a young woman who lived in a shoe. She had lots of ambition, intelligence too, but every promotion would go to some hack. So she quit her dumb job and didn't look back.
There was a young woman who lived in a shoe. She didn't have time to be told what to do. She traveled the world and had no plans to wed. It was her right to choose the life that she led.
There was a young woman who lived in a shoe. She was called every name, even a shrew. But this little queen could not care less, because she had better things to do than listen to pathetic trolls scream at her for being a smart, confident woman.
Okay, out of the three of those stories, I take issue with two of them. The middle one, I think, was actually pretty okay. A woman says that she wants to live her own life, not get married. Sure, by all means, do your thing. Do what you got to do. I don't care. The first one, however, well, let's start with that one. In the first story, it is a woman complaining that she didn't get a promotion. I do believe there are issues of sexism and racism, and it's hard to know when and where and how. Is the reason you didn't get the promotion because of your race or gender, religion, national origin? Or is it because you're just not good enough? This is the challenge. How do we actually weed out racist, sexist bigots? But at the same time, maybe this woman who's walking away from the job just wasn't good at her job. It's really easy to tell someone, you didn't get the promotion because of the color of your skin or because of your gender, and this person who didn't deserve it got the raise. What then happens is instead of improving themselves, they just think they can't do anything about it and they give up. What I was told, I never, ever considered my family history, my race, ethnicity, or anything to play a factor in any of these things. And it probably did, especially with left-wing and woke and progressive individuals. And I really got a taste of that when I saw the racism at Occupy Wall Street, the overt racism where they would segregate people based on race. In my life, I was always told by my dad, everything is your fault. To clarify, even if it's literally not your fault, like something happened that you didn't know about, you have to be responsible for what happens. If you're driving down the street and someone slams into you, literally it's not your fault. But what comes from this is still your responsibility. How you act, how you respond, the things you experience come from your actions. And while literally not everything is always your fault, even if someone else did something wrong, the only thing that's going to make a difference is you acting to improve your situation. Now, I will say this. I have worked jobs where I've seen people promoted for BS reasons. So I quit. And I can agree with this story. My issue, though, is this narrative is often played up that the reason you didn't get your job, they're playing into this woke narrative of, a strong, confident woman. And they've got they got a woman, they got two guys here and the puppet strings. Yeah. Wow. For some reason, this guy's wearing a VR headset. I have no idea why. I worked for a company. I won't name. They're huge. And I was one of their best, top numbers and all that stuff. And I asked for a promotion and a raise. They gave it to someone who was their friend they hired on. And I thought that's wrong. So I quit. End of story. I'm not gonna go to that company and demand changes. I'm not gonna go to that company. Listen, when I worked for Vice, there were a lot of things that I demanded. I said, I'm gonna work here in exchange for these things. I don't need to work here. I can work wherever I want. Vice got me, out of 3 things I asked for, like 1.7 of those things. And my response was, when I didn't get the hosting roles I wanted, I didn't get the features that I wanted, I thought, you know what, man, I don't think I'm the best at this. Obviously, I'm trying to leverage what I've built to get access to a new industry, because I wasn't doing documentary, I was doing live reporting and stuff. And so I was like, I need to leverage what I have in my talent to get them, to put me in the position where I can be trained and become better at what I do. And when I didn't get what I wanted, even after I told them they agreed, I thought, you know what? Like, I'm probably just not that good at what I'm doing, and I have to improve. Because the reality was, if what I was doing was valuable and I was good at it, they'd get me that. So Vice did take care of me in a lot of ways. I was a very privileged staff member there. But my immediate response when I didn't get what I wanted was to say, plain and simple, you know what, man? It's Shane's party, not mine. If Shane's, I went to them and said, get me X, get me Y. I want more specials, I want hosting, etc. Shane said, we'll get you there. We'll get you there. We'll get on it. We'll take care of you. When he didn't, I said, okay. He has no obligation to give me anything. This is his show, not mine. And I mean that in terms of the whole company, not like the show. And so I'll move on. And there's no hard feelings. I think Shane, for all of his shortcomings, is actually still a pretty good guy. I think he does take care of people to the best of his abilities who work for the company, as much as people might not believe that. The point is, I didn't leave in anger thinking like, how dare they, those bigots and all that stuff. And I'm not necessarily implying this story is about that either, but I feel like that's the direction they're going with it. The woman who didn't get the job because a hack was given the promotion tends to be the narrative. I'll tell you this, straight up, there were some hosting gigs I was not allowed to take because they wanted women. And that made me angry. But I get it. I do. You can't have just, 15 guys hosting everything. They needed to, get different perspectives. And there were some stories where they said, for certain reasons, a woman would have to do it. And I recognize that too. So I just felt, you know what, man, listen, if I'm not going to get what I want from this company, I'll just leave. And that's kind of what they're saying. So I can respect that. But I don't look at it as though some like bigoted whatever. I ultimately just said, I've got to make it on my own. I've got to build my own show. I've got to build my own house and not rely on other people. I wish that was more of the message being sent here, as opposed to just, I demand the promotion or else. For me, it was kind of like, thank you for the opportunity. Clearly the arrangement doesn't work out. Best of luck. End of story. But let's move on to the next one. The next story, which is like, I don't even know why they're bringing this up. Like, is it maybe that's just me because I'm a dude. Is that an issue? That women, are told they have to get married and have kids and all that stuff. I feel like maybe a while ago, I don't know if that's a thing now. I'm sure there's still some like boomer parents who are telling their daughters to find a husband and all that stuff. But I feel like this one's kind of just like, sure, whatever. The last one, however, I take the most issue with. I get it that they're not... Let me say this. There's a reason why this ad has 23,000 thumbs up and 20,000 thumbs down. This is nowhere near the level of Gillette, okay? I think that's fair to point out. Gillette was a negative stereotype. This is more about people, talking about things they've done. And I got to say, walking away from a company and not looking back, I agree with it. So I don't take issue necessarily with how they're framing it. It's just like, it's the narrative of how the woke idea works of, women in the glass ceiling and all that stuff. This one I take issue with because according to Pew Research, men actually receive substantially more harassment than women. Women receive more stalking and sexual harassment, which I can agree is more egregious than most harassment. But, I'll quote SVU, Law and Order SVU. They say that crimes of a sexual nature are considered particularly heinous. So when it comes to harassment, women receiving sexual harassment, I do agree. It is much more heinous than your average threats of violence and other things, because typically sexual harassment does come with threats of violence in the same thing, like, rape threats and stuff like that. However, across the board, men still get sexual harassment and stalking. Women get more. But in every other category, death threats, doxing, swatting, all that, all dudes. I've mentioned this before. I don't even check my notifications. I read my direct messages because my direct messages are private. So I've had some people DM me being like, you probably won't read this. So no. I read my DMs on Twitter. But my notifications is always locked at 99 plus. I've got too many followers. I get it. It comes with the territory. I'm not bent out of shape about it. You want to send me nasty things on Twitter? I get it. I'm just going to ignore it. You know what I mean? So the idea is being spread here is not, so I'll be fair. I want to be fair. This video, I don't think plays up to negative stereotypes. It's not saying men don't receive harassment. And the first story is not, they got a woman there who got a promotion too. But it's typically how they play into this narrative of women being the victims. This is about the woman in the shoe. It is overly feminist. And I think it's important in today's day and age to recognize the culture war, as much as I detest a lot of it, to recognize how this will be perceived and what it means to people. So they've done some good things here. So I think that there's some, you know, I disagree with the idea of woke advertising, but look at this. The woman being harassed, she got a woman and a dude harassing her, right? I think they actually tried to do it right, but they didn't do it right. They didn't. They still play into this narrative, and it doesn't really work out well. And I've got some examples I want to highlight really quick. Actually, let's read this top comment here from this user because it's really good. He said, "There was a slay queen who wanted a promotion, but she didn't deserve it, so she caused a commotion. When her boss told her that she wasn't desired, she called him a sexist and then got him fired." It's funny. The thing here is, they didn't say that. They said she left the company. And I actually find that respectable. If you don't like where you work, leave. End of story. The second one about, you know, going and living your own life, I didn't even think that was an issue. Sure, whatever, do your thing. And the last one, they actually do show a woman and a man both harassing. In fact, my understanding is that when it comes to online harassment for women, it's predominantly women harassing them. You know, so it is what it is. That's why this has got 50%. Because not everybody looks at this the same way Gillette was. Gillette was overly negative. Gillette was just straight up like, dude, stop being bad. This one is, hey, we experience these problems and we happen to be women. Okay, I can respect that. You gotta recognize it's still gonna hit in the culture war. There's one last thing I want to go over real quick because the topic of woke advertising is not new. We got the story from the Wrap, 12 brands that tried to make woke ads and failed. We have the Race Together thing from, we'll start with this. When, I don't know, who is this? Kendall Jenner tried giving a Pepsi to a cop and became a meme. We have this one, Groupon makes fun of Tibet. Hyundai makes suicide hilarious, Race Together. Look, what is this? Chipotle's Homo Estaz. Would it take a moment to remember Pearl Harbor SpaghettiOs? Why? What? We have DiGiorno Pizza talking about domestic violence. Why I stayed, you had pizza. Wow. Whoa. Crossing the line. This one's really funny. Pancake versus waffle, whatever. This one's funny. The perfect body, and it's all women who look basically the same. This one was funny too, because this was actually spot on. Secret deodorant doesn't get wage gaps. The commercial was apparently a woman justifying a raise and preparing herself to ask for a raise. And people were upset because it implied the wage gap was due to not asking for raises. It is! It literally is. The wage gap as it's pushed in media doesn't exist. And the wage gap that does exist, which is between, I think, 3 and 8%, people usually say 5%, it's believed to be due to women not asking for the money. And so they tried to do it, and then they got dragged for it. And then Pepsi makes a joke about Indian students' hunger strike. So anyway, this is it's a silly commercial. I think it's going to be bad for them because it's unnecessarily divisive and it plays into a bunch of the woke narrative. But again, 50-50. I think people are split on this one. They're like, do I hate this one, or do they point out that women harass too? Do they point out that the woman in the first story did the right thing and just left? Spot on. Like that's the appropriate response. She didn't, the story doesn't talk about how she complained about it and got someone fired, like much like the top comment said. No, she quit. I did the same thing. There you go. It's a good message. Anyway, we'll leave it there. I got another video coming up on my main channel at 4 p.m. as per usual. I will see you then.